As a man who throughout his entire life lusted for unlimited power, Palpatine seemed not to genuinely care for anything or anyone else but attaining said goal. However, there may have been at least one person Palpatine actually did care for, and perhaps even love in his life. Her name was Sly Moore, a reserved, unborn female whose life was surrounded by rumors as the public believed that she and Emperor Palpatine had a romantic relationship with each other, with some of them going as far as giving her the unofficial title of Queen of the Empire. These rumors seemed to be based off of Palpatine's public interactions with Sly Moore, as they were kind of seen as a couple at times. We actually get a glimpse of said couple-like interaction from them in episode 3, where right before Anakin enters Palpatine's private opera house chamber, we see him and Sly Moore laughing together as they sat next to each other enjoying the show. Also, apparently Sly Moore was the mother of Palpatine's secret son Triclops, who was created after she supposedly impregnated herself with Palpatine's DNA. So what made her so special, and why did Palpatine seem to care so much for her, and why did she herself seem to care so much for him? Well, this possibly might have to do with how they first met and their relationship afterwards. When she was born, Sly Moore was said to have been Force sensitive, but before the Jedi Order could take her, she was instead kidnapped by Darth Maul on orders of Palpatine, presumably so the Force sensitive child could be used for dark side experiments. Experiments that took place within the asteroid Kron Drift, where she was subjected to ancient Sith Lord spirits that mentally and spiritually assaulted her. Despite being forced to undergo this torment for months, she remained sane as her strong will pushed her through the dark side experiments. Perhaps after seeing how strong she was, Palpatine decided to take her under his wing and forge her into a powerful asset of his. He did this by staging a rescue mission for her, to which, under the guise of a humble senator from Naboo, Palpatine made it look like he rescued her from the asteroid, making her believe that he had no connection to the original kidnappers. After nursing her back to health, Palpatine took care of her and began educating her in politics, all the while keeping her a secret and safe from potential enemies. An interesting contrast with how he treated her compared to Darth Maul was where Darth Maul was concerned, Palpatine went out of his way to abuse the poor Zabrak and to constantly remind him of the fact of how little he cared for him, while with Sly Moore, he treated her as if she were his own daughter. Anyway, over the years they formed a strong sense of trust among each other, so much so that Palpatine eventually revealed to her that he was Force sensitive just like her, and that he was in fact a Sith Lord. Though it is unknown if he told her that he was the one who ordered her kidnapping when she was younger. He eventually told her his plan to take over the galaxy, and after she proclaimed eternal loyalty to him, Palpatine had her become one of his most trusted aides in the Galactic Senate. When he became Supreme Chancellor of the Republic, Moore quickly ascended to the position of Senior Administrative Aide, where she could remain at his sides at all time. It was later rumored that Moore blackmailed the previous staff aide, Sai Taria, into stepping down so that she could take her place. As staff aide, her duties consisted of helping organize the Chancellor's schedules, meeting with other figures on behalf of the Chancellor, taking notes on the Chancellor's meetings and ideas, as well as helping him form policy to be presented to the Senate. On top of her formal duties, she was also entrusted by Palpatine to use her Force sensitivity and her native species' natural mind-clouding abilities to impersonate Darth Sidious whenever he needed her to do so. Palpatine did this as a means to convince his pawns that he and Darth Sidious were separate people, as when Moore was impersonating Darth Sidious and communicating with his minions, Palpatine would make sure that he was somewhere in the public, around the same time, to make it seem like they were both at separate places at the same time, so none of his minions could ever imagine linking the two together. After the formation of the Empire, Sly Moore was one of the first members to be appointed to the Imperial Ruling Council, which acted as the Emperor's inner circle. It was around this time that the public began to believe that she and Palpatine had a romantic relationship going on, due to how close she was to him, and how they acted around each other. One of her first duties in the Empire was to oversee the training of captured Jedi Padawans and other Force sensitives on the planet Biss, where they were converted and trained to become dark side servants of the Emperor. She had them tortured and pitted against each other if they refused to submit, some even being killed if they refused to serve the Empire. On top of that, she was also interested in dark side experiments. She was in a way inspired by Palpatine's old master Darth Plagueis, wishing to continue his tests involving manipulating midichlorians to create life. Apparently, her experiments with the manipulations of midichlorians was how she created Palpatine's son, by using his midichlorian-rich DNA to impregnate herself, so she could give birth to a powerful being. It was rumored that when she became pregnant from the DNA, that she retired to her home planet of Umbara, where she died when giving birth to Triclops. Which, if true, would explain why Palpatine disliked his son so much, to the point of making him into a slave and sending him into the spice mines after his many failures of being trained as a Darksider, as he was the cause of his lover's death. But then again, those were just rumors, so Sly Moore's ultimate fate is left unknown. Now, it's possible that Palpatine loves Sly Moore not only because he raised her up himself, like she was his daughter, but also because they had very similar personalities. Umbarans were naturally known to be very manipulative people who craved power and influence, just like Palpatine. But they were also known to have a very dark sense of humor, so much so that ordinary beings tended to be disgusted by their jokes. But Palpatine was clearly no ordinary being. He actually had a very dark sense of humor himself, to the point where he read collections of poems that were written by poets who were infamous for their writings being very dark, sickening, and outright offensive. So not only could they relate with similar personality traits for gaining power, but also with the same dark sense of humor, which means back at the Opera House they were most likely laughing at a pretty dark joke right before Anakin joined them. So what do you guys think? Do you think Palpatine actually had some feelings for Sly Moore? Or do you think his relationship with her was just a means to get her to obey him, and that she was nothing more but another pawn to him that served his ambition of obtaining that unlimited power he so craved? Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe for more videos like this one. And as always, may the Force be with you.